Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If I look a little exhausted, it's because I am. 4-month sleep regressions are really fun, really fun. Also, I have spit up on my shirt. Did I change my shirt for this video? No. This is my second cup of coffee today. Will I have 12 more? Probably. Today's video is going to be about breast milk. My breast milk specifically, and what things I have done to either boost or maintain my breast milk supply. And I will probably eventually make a video about like my whole breastfeeding journey up until this point, because it's just something that I want to talk about. I want to share with you guys, especially if you are a breastfeeding mom, every single day, because that's really going to just set your tone for the day, and it gets your thoughts out of your head onto paper. That way you're not storing them up in here and like driving yourself crazy. Also, maybe some things that I've gone through or some things that I've thought, stuff like that will like resonate with you. So I want to share that eventually. But today I just want to talk specifically about breast milk supply and some of the things that I have done. So let's get right into it. First thing that I want to say is that this is my own specific breastfeeding journey and the things that I have done. So some of the things that I do or have done might not work for you. I just encourage you to maybe try out some things and see what works best for you. But the number one thing that I suggest doing is finding or researching if there's someone in your area who is a lactation consultant. They can be expensive, but generally what I have found, at least in Indiana and in Cincinnati where I delivered Azariah, they have lactation consultants readily available for you in the hospital. And you can speak to them, you can ask them any of the questions that you have right postpartum. And sometimes you can even follow up afterwards. Like I know for my situation, having Azariah in Cincinnati, I worked with a lactation consultant very closely while we were in the NICU to try to like successfully breastfeed. And then a few weeks later, I had another question and I just called them up and they were able to answer my question right away, and that was really helpful. So I just encourage you, if you are going to have a baby or you have had a baby, find a lactation consultant in your area. A lot of times doulas are also certified lactation consultants. I had a doula, and if I had questions that I just really needed answered like right away, immediately postpartum, I would call my doula or text my doula and ask her, and that was really helpful. I also have a doula friend who is also a lactation consultant that I ask her questions about pretty often. Like I literally just asked her a question 2 days ago when I got my period back, like, will getting my period decrease my breast milk supply? And she reassured me and gave me some information like that. So I know not everyone has a lactation consultant friend, but everyone should have access to some type of lactation consultant somehow, whether it's through hospital or hiring a postpartum doula or something like that. If you don't have the financial means to hire someone like a lactation consultant, or it's not offered in your hospital where you delivered, I do recommend then going to a few places. One, I'm pretty sure that there is a La Leche breastfeeding. I'm not sure if it's like La Leche group. It's basically a breastfeeding breast milk supply information like hub, and a lot of states have a La Leche group on Facebook. My state, Indiana, has a specific La Leche group in Indiana, and if I have a question, sometimes I'll go in there and like type out my question in the search box to see if anybody else has asked it, and if not, I'll ask, and then there'll be certified lactation consultants or people who have had that same question answered by someone who knows what they're talking about answer my question for me, and that's really helpful. Another thing that I have found that is helpful is a website called Kelly Mom. My doula friend is actually the one who, anytime I have a question about something that there is like research evidence backing it, she will then send me to Kelly Mom, where I can either like type in other questions or find the exact answer to the question that I'm looking for most of the time. And it's very helpful for me because it is information that I do trust. I'm not just searching in Google my question and like getting some really gray answer. It's kind of like more, this is the answer to your question, and I appreciate that so much more than Google or like people who have Googled things and like might not actually be true, you know. Another thing is maybe see on Facebook or ask some parents that you know who have breastfed if there are any breastfeeding mom groups in your area. I've not gone to this breastfeeding group because of COVID-19, obviously, but there is actually a breastfeeding mom groups on Tuesdays at a place near me where they meet every single Tuesday, and you don't even have to be a breastfeeding mom. You could be a mom who chose to do formula or has to do formula. Whatever you're doing, it's just like a group to get together with postpartum moms and talk and share stories, share advice, share your heart basically. And I think I would really benefit from that. I wish I would have been able to go, but I do know that is a lot of times offered, and if not, maybe start one. Also, if you are a certified lactation consultant and you're watching this video, please comment below any suggestions that you have that maybe like I didn't hit, or maybe, you know, if you have a further suggestion or something like that, please comment below. I would love to hear those suggestions, and I know the people viewing this video would also like to hear that. And just to put a disclaimer out there, I am not a lactation consultant. I am a just breastfeeding mom, and I have done tons and tons and tons of research and really done everything that I can to try to have a successful breastfeeding journey and keep my supply, boost my supply. And I've had a lot of people in my life who I've been able to lean on or go to who have had a successful breastfeeding journey, and be able to ask them questions. And so I think that's like the biggest thing, is like just asking the right people questions. Now to get into some things that I have actually tried. So the first one that I want to talk about is hydration. Breast milk is actually 98% water, so that's a lot. Like, you need to be hydrated. I think the number one thing that I see in my DMs whenever I talk about breast milk or my breast milk journey or breastfeeding journey, people say like, I struggle with hydrating, or I struggle with getting in enough water, or knowing how much water to drink. And that's such an easy thing to forget or push back, but it's so important. It's not only important to you and yourself and your own body, but it's important to your baby and your breast milk also. I am a certified personal trainer, and when I worked with, I don't currently, but when I worked with women on weight loss and living a healthy lifestyle and changing habits, one of the biggest things that we did was make sure that hydration was a priority and that it was a healthy habit that we established, because you would be so surprised how good you feel when you actually hydrate your body. There are a couple things that you can do besides just water, which I will always say, drink enough water. But there are some things that you can do alongside drinking enough water to like get some extra hydration. And one of those things is liquid IV. So I have shared liquid IV on my YouTube before. I share it on my Instagram story just about every day because I truly do love it. I don't go a day without drinking it. And that's because I do seriously think that it helps my supply. It helps me stay hydrated. And I'm a person who I can't not drink enough water. Like, I have to drink water throughout the day. So I know I'm hydrated. But knowing that I'm also getting an extra little bit of hydration through drinking liquid IV is really helpful to me and like my sanity. Basically what liquid IV is, it's just a hydration multiplier. It has this backed science called CTT. It's like cellular transport technology, and what it says is it's an optimal ratio of nutrients that delivers hydration rapidly to your bloodstream, hydrating 2 to 3 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. So the ingredients in this are pretty self-explanatory. Some people do have a problem with the fact that it does have sodium and sugar, but the sodium and sugar are purposeful. They're not just like fillers. The purpose of the sodium and the sugar is that CTT technology, and that's really important. And you can find out more information about that on the Liquid IV website. But a lot of people ask me like how many sticks a day I take, and I usually just use one because I know I'm hydrating with water also. Sometimes I do too, just like because it's really good, and there is absolutely no harm in taking liquid IV when you're breastfeeding. There's nothing in it that would harm you or your baby, and I would never suggest something to you that would do that. So yeah, if you want to try out liquid IV, I do have a code. It's LexiTieri25 in all caps, and you get 25% off and free shipping. And every single person who I have referred to take liquid IV have come back and told me how much that it's helped them and how much they love it. So can't say enough about this company. Another way that I hydrate is with coconut water. Coconut water is very hydrating, and you can get this, some people don't really like the taste of coconut water. Like, it's kind of, you gotta like coconut, like you gotta really like coconut. So if you don't want to drink just straight coconut water, there is the first ingredient in Body Armor drinks is coconut water. It's like what they're mostly made of. So I know a lot of people and a lot of breastfeeding women drink Body Armors daily, or a couple of them daily. I drink maybe, I'd say in like in a week period, I drink 2 or 3, because I'm also drinking liquid IV. I'm also drinking water and doing some other things alongside that, so I don't feel necessary to spend a whole bunch of money on Body Armor drinks. But if I'm feeling like I want like I call it like a cold beverage, my beverage of choice is Body Armor, because it also aids in hydration and it tastes good. Secondly, I would say eat enough. I cannot stress that one enough either, because not only does your body need you to eat enough, but your breast milk also needs you to eat enough, just like hydration. If you are like, I don't want to say neglecting, but if you're not getting all nutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, I do think that it affects your breast milk supply, because your body needs an appropriate amount of each one in order to keep that up. I think that there is a balance between eating enough, eating too much, and eating too little, obviously. Don't deprive yourself of food because you want to lose weight at the same time if you're wanting to breastfeed. Does that make sense? Like, you can't be in a super deep deficit trying to lose weight and also like keep a sufficient breast milk supply. Or at least I have not seen anybody do that. If you've done that, I'm congratulating you, because that's really awesome. But for most women, I think that that's not ideal and not something that I would suggest doing. 3 is actually eating dates. Prolactin is the hormone that your body naturally has that tells you to produce breast milk. When you're still pregnant, sometimes things that people will say to do to like encourage labor is to eat dates. And I would say if you're eating dates before you give birth, continue eating dates after you give birth, because I truly do believe in them also. I eat dates every day. Nikki Phillippi has, I don't want to say created a recipe, because I don't think that she created it, but I have seen her be eating it more and more in her breastfeeding journey. She does dates mixed with, or dates stuffed with a mixture of peanut butter, hemp seeds, sea salt, and mini chocolate chips, and you just eat those. And I actually have some in my fridge right now, and I popped one in my mouth right before this video. I eat like 2 to 3 a day, and they're good. Like, they're really good. Some people don't like dates, but I do. And having the peanut butter and the like chocolate chips and stuff in them just make them a really nice snack. If eating dates raw, or like, you know, with the peanut butter mixture inside of them is not something that you want to do, like if you can't really stomach dates like that, then you can make lactation cookies that include dates. There are so many lactation cookies on Pinterest with different things. A lot of them include things like brewer's yeast, oats, which is another huge one, dates, hemp seeds. Some include fenugreek, but I am not going to suggest fenugreek on here in this like list of things that I have done, because I have personally never taken fenugreek and will not, because there is science backing the fact that some women do not react well to fenugreek. Sometimes that can really diminish their milk supply, and it can make you gassy or baby gassy, and Azariah is already gassy enough as it is, so I don't want to increase that anymore. There are tons of lactation cookies on Pinterest and the internet, but some that I take because I don't want to take the time to make lactation cookies, because if we're being real, I barely have time to like eat and take a shower right now. So I go for the more convenience thing, and I eat these lactation cookies. This is actually from a local store in my area, but they do ship. So these lactation consultants. These lactation cookies are called what's called Mommy's Milk Lactation Cookies from Cafe Baby, and they contain galacta. So on the back here it says galactagogies are natural ingredients that increase your milk supply. If your milk supply is low, you can use a natural galactago I don't know that word, to help increase your milk production. So the ingredients in this is flour, oats, butter, semi-sweet chocolate chips, brown sugar, eggs, brewer's yeast, organic flaxseed meal, salt, leavening agent, and vanilla extract. So it says that when you combine things like oats, brewer's yeast, and flaxseed, that's the galacta stuff, and that increases your milk supply. And I can tell you that on the days that I don't eat these cookies, I do notice a difference. So, but it could also be like, I have these things and use these things on a daily basis, so I can't tell you if it's one specific thing that I do or don't do that is beneficial or not as beneficial. Does that make sense? So I use a combination of these things, and that's just what works for me. Next is to offer feedings more often. I never let Azariah go more than I never let him go more than 4 hours without feeding, with the exception of nighttime, where he generally sleeps through the night, except for right now because of the 4-month sleep regression. But before that, I never let him go more than 4 hours, and he usually never let me go more than 4 hours, more like 2.5 to 3 hours before feeding again. And my suggestion in this is just the more often that your milk is taken out of your breast, the more that your body is going to be like, okay, need to produce more. So don't like gorge your baby, obviously, because your baby's gonna tell you when they don't want it or when they're full, but do offer feedings more often or closer together. That way your body knows like, okay, I need to like produce more. If you are struggling with thinking about losing your milk supply because your baby's sleeping through the night, but you also don't want to wake them up to feed because you're like finally getting sleep back again, I don't think that there's any reason to wake your baby during the night to feed. What I do personally is Azariah will go down for bed between like 7:30 and 9. It just depends on the day. He's not on a schedule yet. And when he does, I usually don't go to bed until 10:30 or 11. So I will pump, because Craig feeds him a bottle, his last feeding before we go to bed. I will pump while Craig is feeding him his bottle between 7:30 and 9, whenever that is. And then before I go to bed, I will then pump again. And I do this because I want to like tell my body that yes, Azariah's last feeding of the day was at between 7:30 and 9, but I want to just get one more in there to kind of like tell my body like, hey, you still need to produce milk. And then I won't pump the whole night until Azariah wakes up again at he usually wakes up like sometimes at 5, sometimes at 7:30. It really just depends, but whenever he wakes up again, I will feed him, whether it's on one side or both sides, depending on how hungry he is. And then he'll go back to sleep for another 1.5 or 2 hours. And after I feed him, at between 5 and 7, I'm sorry if this is confusing, but this is what works for me. After I will feed him in the morning when he wakes up to feed, I will pump immediately after, or like 30 minutes after. And usually I'll just pump one side because that's signaling my body again like, okay, those were back to back, let's start producing for the day. And that, I think, has made such a huge difference in what has been able to allow me to sleep through the night and not pump, not wake to pump, and still like have a good supply throughout the day. I also will say that your body's really smart, and so if it realizes that you're not waking to pump or waking to feed throughout the night, it's not necessarily gonna like turn off your milk supply for the whole rest of the day. Your body gets into this rhythm, kind of knowing when it needs to produce milk and when it doesn't, and like that's really cool. It's really cool that your body knows how to do that. So I wouldn't stress too much about sleeping through the night. But maybe try that little thing that I just said that I do, and maybe it will put you, like give you some peace of mind. Next is power pumping. I've never personally had to do power pumping, and I don't know a lot about it, but Kelly Mom and La Leche groups will tell you what this is. So an example of power pumping is to pump 20 minutes, rest 10 minutes, pump 10 minutes, rest 10 minutes, pump 10 minutes. And then you can repeat that, or you can do that a couple days in a row, depending on like when your milk supply like increases. The point of this is to say, like, when you have a newborn baby, you're nursing really often. And it's basically saying to your body, oh my gosh, like I need to produce more because there's being more taken out more often. And I have known some people to have tried this and it really works for them. There's, again, no harm in doing this. Something else that I will say with pumping, something that I do to increase my supply or just make sure that Azariah is getting enough, if he is nursing on one side, I will pump the other side. Now, take this with a grain of salt because this is what I do, okay? If he's nursing on one side, I will pump the other side. Some people have their baby nurse on one side and they use a haka on the other side. I don't particularly like the haka, but if that works for you, amazing. Or if I have nursed Azariah on one side and I feel like maybe has only nursed for 10 minutes or so when normally he nurses for 15 to 20, but I know that he's full because he's like sleepy or whatever, or gives me signals that he's full, I will go put him down and then I'll pump the rest on that side. I would also say make sure your baby is getting good feedings. So don't remove your baby from your boob if they are still wanting to nurse. There's kind of a difference between like wanting to nurse and then just pacifying. I don't really let Azariah pacify that long. If I find that he is pacifying, like falling asleep on me, he'll pacify for maybe a couple minutes and then I'll take him off and put him down to sleep. If I know that and I can still see that he is still feeding and it's been like extra long, I leave him on there for as long as he needs, because that is telling my body also like this is how much he needs, and I want him to feed and get like adequate amount of breast milk. Next, super simple, de-stress your life. Do not add any extra stressors to your life, or if there are stressors, find ways to combat that stress. Something that I would suggest is, one, meeting with God daily in some way. That can be the biggest stress reliever that I could ever tell you. But secondly, maybe do some affirmations or some journaling for yourself every single day, because that's really, really going to just set your tone for the day, and it gets your thoughts out of your head onto paper. That way you're not storing them up in here and like driving yourself crazy. Does that mean there won't be still stressful situations? Yes. But when you go into the presence of God, your stress does go away because His presence is peace. So if you are having a stressful day or you're having a stressful span of life, meet with God daily in some way, and I know that you'll find peace there. But there are some stressful situations that you can change. So if you are not eating because you are, instead of eating, choosing to do the laundry or clean the kitchen or clean up or whatever's on your to-do list, stop doing that and eat. Because if you are not eating, if you're not hydrating, you're causing your body stress. And there are things that you cannot avoid, like if your baby has colic, if you have a stressful life situation, or you're going through a 4-month sleep regression like I am right now. But you may not be able to change your situation, but you can change the way that you think about your situation. Something else that I would say along those lines is, do not be afraid to like hand your baby to your husband or your person and be like, I need to go self-tan, take a shower, like do something for yourself for 5, 10, 20 minutes, because you have to take care of yourself. Next is skin to skin. We are encouraged to do skin to skin like for the first 2 months of life. That's when my doula said that it's most important. But skin to skin doesn't need to stop after 2 months. You can do skin to skin for as long as you want. And Azariah and I do that like here and there. We don't do it that often anymore, but we do it. Having the skin to skin builds a connection, which then tells your brain to produce milk, or it increases a hormone that produces milk. What it also does is when you're skin to skin, it encourages your baby to feed. which is again important for increasing your supply because it removes the milk from your breast and tells your body to produce more. Okay, the last thing that I want to say is you can take supplements. I'm saying this lastly because I think that it should be like a last thing, maybe. At least in my experience, it is a last resort type of thing. There are supplements that you can take, and I know a lot of doulas and lactation consultants recommend it's called Legendary Milk supplements, but I've never taken them, but they are something that's recommended from people, and I've heard good things about them. But another one that lactation consultants and doulas have recommended is a company called Majka, or I think that's how you say it, and they have a lactation protein powder, and like, I'm not sure what the other one is, but it's vanilla chai flavored, and I can get on that level because vanilla chai in general is so good. But I have the protein powder, and what this protein powder is it's not just a protein powder, it also has like greens in it. So let me just read it to you. The B vitamins, methylfolate, choline, so important, methylcobalamin, sorry, vitamin D3, greens and fruits, vitamin C, iodine, pre and probiotics, chelated minerals, digestive enzymes, and galactogogy, that word, that are also in these cookies. So it says it fights postnatal depletion, boosts your energy, and supports your milk supply. This is in green vanilla. It does have a greens flavor tinge to it. So I don't like adding this into things like oatmeal, things that I would like more like just to be vanilla-y, you know, like not have a green flavor. So what I do instead is add this to things like smoothies. And I find that that's really, really helpful. I have a good amount left. I don't know if you can see that. I have a good amount left in here. But when I do take this, I really do enjoy it. I enjoy that it's not just a protein powder, it's not just a greens powder. It has things that also boost your milk supply. I'm not affiliated with this company at all. I just genuinely think that they do great. They also have lactation cookies, but I would not suggest them only because they do have fenugreek in them, and you've already heard my spiel about that. If you are a breastfeeding mom and you have any other suggestions that you would like to put below that are backed by science or backed by a lactation consultant or doula, please comment them below because I would like to hear them, and I know other people would like to hear them, like I mentioned. If you're also a breastfeeding mama, I want to congratulate you on your journey. If you are a mama who is here and maybe you have chosen not to breastfeed, but maybe you want to breastfeed in the future with another baby, or you're just here to listen, I just want to say that I'm proud of you for I'm proud of you for feeding your baby, okay? I'm proud of you for doing what you know is best for your baby and being a superhero mom. I think all moms are superheroes no matter how you have a baby, or no matter what stage of life you're in or where your baby is, you are a superhero. And breastfeeding is really hard. Very, very hard. It's a daily battle. It's a daily struggle, way harder than anything that I think could have imagined. But it's also so cool and such a blessing that our bodies are able to produce milk for our children. Remember to love God, love yourself, and love people, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.